Kurtis Powell, my grandfather. I remember the day I moved in with him. I was afraid because I did not know what was going to happen and I had not seen him regularly in several years. He greeted me with a simple "come in and sit down" approach. My mom was going through some hard times and needed time to herself, so she sent me to live with my grandfather. I was afraid, but he was used to having kids in the house. My grandfather was the greatest and most positive influence in my life, and he was my only true father figure. He never really talked about the past much. He never really liked to because he took it very hard when his wife, my grandmother, passed away many years earlier. I never knew my grandmother, as she passed long before I was born, but I know he loved her very much and went through a very long mourning period after she passed. He was a Korean War veteran. The only reason I know this is a tattoo on both arms saying so. When I would ask him about it, he would only say something like, "It was a war, there was gunfire, and a lot of people died." My grandfather was stubborn, strong-willed, and had his own opinions that no one could change. He did not need the finer things in life, just enough to get by. When I lived with him, he was already retired, so money was usually tight. He always used to say, "All we need is gas in the car, money for food, and a house to live in." I remember being bored almost every Sunday and going to the neighbor's house because he would turn on the NASCAR race and fall asleep on the couch shortly after the start, only to wake up after it was over and the winner was in victory circle. Now I miss those Sundays. My few years with him taught me more than everything else combined. I learned how not to be afraid of most things because he had the "if it's my time to go, I'm going to go no matter where I am" philosophy. He would sit outside on his covered porch most days through sun, snow, rain, storm, or any other weather. He especially loved storms. I remember shortly after moving out of his home, a tornado hit his town. He, of course, was on his porch watching it go into a field not far from his home, disappear before it hit him, and jump a couple of streets over from his home. Everyone thought he was crazy and scorned him for it. I thought it would have been really cool to be there with him. He, to me, seemed to not be afraid of anything. He was brave, and I looked up to him for that. His stubbornness was always a big part of his life. He never liked hospitals and doctors, so he didn't go unless he was sick. I remember going to a birthday party at my mother's house with him for my little brother, where his arm started going numb. Eventually, it went completely numb, and everyone was saying he needed to go to the hospital. He decided he was okay and that he just needed to get home and take a nap. So off he went in his car with his left arm completely numb and his leg beginning to go numb. It took a couple of my aunts cutting him off with their van, getting him out of the car, and taking him to the hospital with him protesting the whole way. He wasn't much of a cook, nor did he claim to be. Lunch and dinner with him consisted of either the 5 for $5 roast beef sandwiches at Arby's or something easily made in the microwave. I became a microwave chef living with him as I was usually the cook. In the mornings, he would wake before the sun and go out and sit on his porch to watch it rise. At about 6 a.m. every morning, he would turn the living room radio on loud enough to wake me up because I think he just wanted someone to talk to. By 7 almost every morning, we were sitting at a little mom and pop restaurant just down the street picking what he wanted. Scrambled eggs with bacon and toast for him, and usually pancakes with sausage and eggs for me. We got on a first name basis with the owners. The food was usually always being prepared before we arrived. I never really got to thank him. He helped turn my life around, taught me responsibility, braved me in all the things that others should teach their children. He was my grandfather, but he was so much more to me. He was more of a father than a grandfather. I saw no distinction. Sometimes I miss the boring days that I hated so much back then. I miss sitting on the porch during storms, waking to country music every morning, and eating the same thing at the same place for breakfast every morning, and just having the chance to sit down and talk to someone. I've taken everything I have learned from him and applied it to my life. I only hope that I can be as good of a father to my children as he was to me, even when he didn't have to be. It was a simple time living with him, but it was the best time of my life. The only way to sum it all up is with a quote. A man by the name of Samuel Johnson once said, "It matters not how a man dies, but how he lives." For my grandpa, he may not have been perfect, but he always lived for others. I will always think of him, love him, and most of all, miss him.